So, hello again. Today's Expo speaker truly embodies Chicago's entrepreneurial spirit. She's a native Chicagoan, a Chicago Public Schools graduate, and a visionary businesswoman with a remarkable journey that led to the creation of a Black-owned, woman-owned natural hair care company. With us today is Kim Lewis, CEO and co-founder of CurlMix. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love it.
So before we get started, I just want to tell the audience a couple things. I only have sisters, I have 3 sisters, and in my family, no woman ever had a bad hair day. And just so you know, I've been with my barber for 32 years.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very loyal to
I love it.
yeah. All right, so before we talk business, tell our audience just a little bit about yourself.
So I am a little black girl from the south side of Chicago. I live and grew up right around 103rd Cottage Grove. Gaisley Stadium for the summer camps and for the Border Park High School football games. I was in band, I was in jazz team, I played soccer and basketball.
Thank you.
I literally like riding the bus to school at 6 a.m., 6:30 in the morning, going to school and not getting home till like 7 o'clock at night. So I spent a lot of my time like in the community, at school, met the love of my life there. Timothy Lewis, he was also like captain, academically decathlon and all the things, swim team, track team, one city diver, all the things. And we met there and we've been together ever since. And we both went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign for about 4 years. He studied econ, I studied business, and when we graduated, we basically started working together. He got into tech, I got into entrepreneurship, and he kind of funded my failures for a while. And I signed him to be almost a millionaire, where he ended up winning $100,000 and he didn't believe that he could win this money. So I can tell you the story later, but he ended up winning $100,000, and that went towards the first business that we started, like $25,000 of it, but it failed. And for us, that was like kind of scary because you don't just fall into like that kind of money, especially at 21 years old. But those skills that we gained helped us build the next business, which was CurlMix. And CurlMix wasn't a hit right out the park on the first time we did it. I had to relaunch it twice, and then we had to pivot. So 2018 is when we pivoted to what we now do, which is we help you master your curl in 21 days. So most men who buy CurlMix want hair like this, or can achieve something similar with their own hair. And it's really ideally for like black women over 40 who want to wear their hair the same to their job, their date night, their kid's soccer game. But we didn't start that way. We started a do-it-yourself box for curly hair. Think like Blue Apron, but for hair. And then that's when we started in 2015 and pivoted in 2018. And then in 2019, we appeared on Shark Tank. And that's when we got a deal offered a deal from Robert Hershey for $400,000 for 20% equity stake in the business, and we turned it down. And as of last year, we did about $10 million online. And we moved into our own manufacturing facility on 87th and Cottage Grove, where it used to be one of the old Stock Chain buildings. Yes. And we make our own products. Our team is majority black, people of color. I'm also Latino. My family is actually Mexican and Native American and black. But we employ people from our community. We have a very diverse team, and everybody like lives in the area. Like we employ folks from our community, and we still live in the community. So my husband and I, we live in the Woodlawn area actually. We were like, I don't want to move to a neighborhood I don't feel safe, and actually feel safer around people who look like me. And we are now going to be sold in Ulta. We have about 460 stores that we launched into 2 weeks ago. And we also raised about $4.5 million from about 7,000 customers. So we are also customer owned. But I hope I didn't steal your thunder. And then you got the questions from me.
all about you. No, that's a great start. What's the significance behind the name CurlMix? And also, package branding is very important to capture customers' attention. How did you decide on the brand color and packaging for those who want to get into something similar?
Oh man, so there's a book called Designing the Brand, I believe it's called. I found this book maybe 2 or 3 years ago from an executive coach that I had. I wish I had this book when I started. Because when I was starting, like many of you, I didn't know anything about branding necessarily. And so I was literally just like, this sounds cool, let's do this, let's do that. And the only thing I knew about a name is I had named my first business wrong. My first business was like a niche social network for natural hair. The business I sunk $25,000 into. And it was like a Facebook for hair, almost, right? We called it the Natural Hair Academy. And then, that name is so long, it can't fit on little wristbands. It's too many syllables, the Natural Hair Academy. Like, that's a bad name, right? And then when you have to do a bunch of, us, we love these acronyms. Like the NHA, and I was like, we gotta stop with the acronyms, okay? Good names are like things like Facebook, Twitter, Google, like things that you can own when people search, that it's not being confused with lots of different things. So I learned that in my first business. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna name anything with acronyms. I'm not going to make it super, super long. I'm gonna make it something that is short, something that I own all the social media for. So if you can't own all the social media for it, then you shouldn't get it. So it means you can't find the Instagram with the name very simply, then you should not name your business that. And that is so hard because we want to name it after things that make us that are sentimental, but you really need to name it in a way that people can find it and that will allow you to have brand identity. Imagine if everybody in this room was named Kim. How would you stand out? You know what I mean? Like, so when you name your business, CurlMix, I didn't actually come up with the name. Tim did, because we were doing a DIY box at the time, so do it yourself means you mix everything yourself. And so we knew mix had to be in the name. But at the time I was afraid because there was Curl Box, there was a brand named Curls, it was a lot of confusion. And so I actually, going back, probably wouldn't name us CurlMix. Just
Really?
Because in the beginning, when we would type in CurlMix, Google would say, do you mean Curl Box? And like, if Google says that when your brand is being searched every time, it took years for Google to recognize our brand name. And so I would buy the book that suggested Designing the Brand. I think it's called The Thick Paperback book, but it has pictures and it talks about how iconic brands are built. Some of the best brands in the world, Disney. You're not just naming your kid Disney. You know what I mean? Like that is a specific type of name that has stood the test of time over 100 years. Disney launched in the 1920s, and that name has been able to sustain them for decades. And so I would really look at naming, how to name your business before you slap a name on it. And then the colors, I didn't know what to pick. In the beginning, we had this like really bright Tiffany blue teal color, just because I liked it, and teal was associated with DIYers. But when I looked at it, none of our packaging actually matched that color. We had like rainbow packaging, and I didn't know how to brand back then. And what I then learned is that, I just reposted this yesterday. If Nike opened a hotel, you would know what's going to be in that hotel. They probably have a track in the hotel, they have a place to clean your tennis shoes maybe, they have a tennis court, they have all these different activities around wellness and fitness. If Hyatt, the hotel, launched a gym shoe, you would not know what that gym shoe is supposed to look like. And so to me that was a lesson in branding. I didn't know that when I started, and so now if CurlMix launched a hotel, our customers would know what it would look like. They know it would be the dark teal. And we switched from the Tiffany blue to the dark teal because we had a more mature audience. And these bright colors are more youthful, and it doesn't necessarily represent luxury, right? Things that are luxurious are not hot pink, typically. They're typically deeper tones, jewel tones, like even black is a luxury color, right? Like the black card or like your Uber black card is like luxury. So having like a Tiffany blue is not luxurious, it doesn't connote an expensive prestige brand. And so there were just things that I learned from reading that book and then having an executive coach about branding. So in the beginning, you're not going to know this stuff. So it's okay if you make mistakes and you have to change it later. We had to rebrand about 5 years in. So the packaging that we're in Ulta with is not the packaging we started with. It took 5 years to figure out who we were talking to. And then once we knew that, then we could pivot the brand and change the packaging and the looks and design and things like that. And I hope I didn't offend anybody, but this is just, pretty straight to the point.
That is great. saw a lot of pads and pens come out, so tell the name of the book one more time.
Designing the brand, or it must be like designing and building the brand, something like that. But y'all know, it's on Amazon, you'll know it has thousands of reviews, and it's a thick hardcover textbook, it's like $35. But like, it's a coffee table book, and the reason you want to actually get the book itself, because it has pictures. So it even shows you like the importance of symbols. Sometimes we'll pick an icon image off of word art just because it's like pretty, right? But you really want to pick a symbol based on, people recognize symbols before they read words, right? So when we look at the stop signs, my little baby, you know, he's 3, he's still learning to read and everything, but he knows that octagon means stop. You know what I mean? Because he reads it before he reads the words that are stop. And so that's how our brains function. So when you have places like, I'm trying to think of a really powerful symbol that many of us recognize. The peace symbol. You know what I mean? Like, that was a very powerful symbol. You remember what that is. The rainbow. Like, these are symbols that, you know, that you don't have to have messages next to them. You know what they mean. And so that book will show you like iconic symbols, iconic names, how to name your business, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so now we've got the name, we've got the colors.
Yes.
How did you find your business partners, which I think would be a little bit intimidating, such as manufacturer, to actually manufacture the product?
Yes. If I could start over, I would have probably gone to someone to manufacture instead of doing it myself. It was very hard and very expensive. And so I ended up raising about $9 million for my business because we manufacture. That means my overhead or my fixed costs, the things I'm constantly spending on every day. You know, my rent is $30,000 per month for my building. Say it again. I'm sorry, that was funny. My rent is expensive, and now granted, my cost of goods or the cost of my actual units would be more expensive if I was going to someone else to manufacture, and I do have less control. But I don't have to deal with, you know, whether or not the rent went up in the area, you know what I'm saying, or like maybe my landlord overpaid for the building, and now he's increasing my fee because he's paying more taxes. And so like that's stuff that I have to do on a regular, or like, you know, we had I don't know if this was safe, but you know, someone shot a bullet through our window, and my landlord made me pay for it. Did not cover my window and things like that, and so that is something that you deal with when you have your own building, right? Whereas if I was just buying, you know, a unit already made from somebody else, I'm just dealing with the cost of this unit. And so we ended up manufacturing ourselves because we landed on a product that nobody would make for us. So we have flaxseed gel. So essentially, when we were doing the do-it-yourself box, we had one box people kept buying over and over and over again, and it was our flaxseed gel. You guys, raise your hands, know what flaxseeds are? Yes. Okay, that's good. Okay, we have some healthy folks in the audience. Okay. I love it. Yes, the flax seeds, yes. The ones you would normally eat, when you boil them, it gives you a really gooey gel. And when you extract the gel, you can put it in your hair to get this hairstyle. We went to, and flax seeds are used all over the world. They're largely grown in Europe and Canada, but they are used in South America, they're used in Africa, they're used everywhere in the United States. And no manufacturer wants to give me legitimate flaxseed gel, because essentially they want to put synthetic powders with water, mix it up, and give you a really goofy gel. You know, the gels you scoop that just kind of sit in your hand and don't move, those are all fake. They're not natural ingredients in those products. And so my flaxseed gel is running. It's a natural organic gel, and they're like, this is too much work. You know, to boil this and have to extrain it and all this stuff is too laborious, we're not gonna make this for you. And so I was gonna quit the business. And because I went to 3 different manufacturers, they all said no. My advisor was like, I met a girl who figured out how to carbonate tea. I think you can do this. Figure it out. Now mind you, I'm 7 months pregnant. This is year 5 in business, or what was this? Yeah, year 5 an entrepreneur. I'm feeling like I'm failing. I'm gonna get my MBA. I took the GMAT. I was like, this isn't working. I'm just gonna go back to school. And he's like, Kim, if you're good enough, they'll hire you to teach. Like, don't quit. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, fine. So I spent all of October making 50 different batches of flaxseed gel in my kitchen, figuring out what to scale and then what my customers wanted. And at the time, we were selling a box for like $30, and the margin was only 30%. Where I'm competing with, you know, a Suave, or I'm competing with a Shea Moisture, whatever, and their margins are 80 to 90%. So like, even if I could scale this box, I shouldn't. So we do the gel, and I'm like, if I launch pre-orders to my audience, and they buy it, then that'll be like proof of concept. And I would charge $30 for it because the box is $30. And I'm doing them a favor by having to make it because they can't get it anywhere else, right? We end up selling hundreds of amount of hours. And I was like, oh, this is what we should do. And then I was like, well, how do we scale this process? And then that began our journey of manufacturing. And that's when I found ICNC, which is actually like a couple blocks this way. It's if you are a maker, your own cookies, your own food business, your own haircare product business, or if you have a studio, you need a photo place or whatever. ICNC has lots of individual units, and they're really great where you don't need your whole building. Again, you don't want to manage all the insurance things yourself, but you're starting out. So we got our first 1,000 square feet at ICNC. I want to say we pivoted the business in October, but found out that Foxy Joe was what we should pivot to. In January, pivoted with the baby on my hip, my newborn, mind you, I giving birth. And within 4 months, we went from like $3,000 a month to maybe like $30,000 a month. Wow. And I was like, oh, this is it. And I asked him to quit his job and come work for the business. I should not have done that though. He was making too much money. And he was making like, in tech, he was like making $250,000. He still ain't made as much money as he was making individually in the business since then. But in about 5 months, so April, May, is when we moved into ICNC. We were there for the next 3 years. It really helped us scale.
I understand that you're still manufacturing in Chicago.
Yes.
And why is that important that you really kind of are in Chicago versus looking somewhere else to do the manufacturing and I'm in Chicago?
So, one, it feeds my soul, right? It makes me feel like, I can sleep at night. I feel good about what we're doing, what we're making, who we're employing, where the money goes, the families that it's supporting. It also gives me more control over my business. So, I do kind of complain oh, there's bullets coming through my window sometimes, but I also like being next door to the rink, you know what I mean? And being in my community and knowing my neighbors and employing people who look like me. That is so important to me. And it does give me a level of control of the business, and it also teaches me and expands me as an entrepreneur. Because I'm 32, these are experiences that are going to really impact my life and help me experience as an entrepreneur over the next 40, 50 years of me working. So I'm grateful for the way that we did it. There's just so many lessons learned.
Yeah. So you move out of the kitchen, now you're manufacturing. How many employees do you have now? And besides you, Tim, who was the first person Tim, we got to hire blah, blah, to do this part of the business? It's taking up too much of our time.
So I really believe, you said, I remember you asked me, how do you find a co-founder?
Right.
And I kind of didn't answer that. In the beginning, you need, this is going to sound so whatever, but you need stellar players. You need people who are willing to lead everything for the business. You cannot have people who are I only want to do this one function. If they tell you that, send them to corporate. Don't try to I can teach them this and they can do that. No, if someone tells you who they are, believe them in the beginning of your business. You need people who can do 10 different things and will not complain alongside you while doing it. I was lucky enough for that person to have been my spouse. He's someone who doesn't necessarily need to be in front, but also pretty brilliant in that he wants money and wants to be a millionaire. You know what I mean? So he doesn't necessarily have the initiation or ambition both that I have. Right, so I'm a starter, essentially. So I would pick someone that can do lots of different things. Now, after you get past that person, then you need someone taking things off of your plate that are costing you from making more money. For example, when we were on our way to our first $1 million, the first thing I hired initially was customer service. And that was just because it was I spent my time going back and forth in emails about lost packages, and I'm the one sending out the emails that make money for the business. So when I can't send out the email, we don't make any money. So we could have answered all these customer orders about packaging, but we've made no money in the process, and so the business will ultimately fail. If I could start over, I would still hire customer service, but instead of hiring production and shipping and all those other things, those operational type things first, I would go back, hire the person to help with customer service, but then immediately hire someone to run ads, someone who knows digital marketing, because that person's going to help make it rain. And then ads are more predictable and consistent than social media or organic posting or waiting to press recorded me or I got I was in Shark Tank. These are all one-off things. You can't possibly repeat those things. But ads are the constant fuels of the business. And so ads and email marketing. I was an expert in email marketing, which really took us far, but it was missing the ad piece, and I had to rely on agencies to do that, and that can be very expensive as you start to scale. Like, I started off paying my agency a couple $1,000s a month. When I left, I probably was paying them like $15,000 a month, you know? And at that point, I should hire a full-time employee because that's gonna be cheaper than working with this agency. But that's the scale that we were doing. I think we were doing like, I don't know, a little over $500,000 a month. And then they charge you based on how much money you're making. You know what I mean? So those would be my recommendations around who you should hire. And this is all from a digital e-commerce business perspective, right? You might have a bakery, you might have a laundromat, you might have other businesses that might require different things. This is a business that's largely based online.
Interesting. Your products can be found in Ulta,
Yes.
another Chicago land headquartered company. How were you able to get your products in the store, and what did you learn during the process? And I know that's also very competitive itself as to where you're going to actually be within the store. Do you have a sales team for that? Or?
Yeah, so one of the things that many of us want, and it's really to feed our ego, is we want to see our products on the shelf, right? And then other people will take you more seriously when they feel like your products are on the shelf. But the truth of the matter is that that is not necessarily the ultimate goal. And that's it because you can make just as much, if not more money, selling your own products on your own website without being beholden to a retailer. Ulta's been an excellent partner, and I love Ulta. But not every retail company is like Ulta. Like if you are late with a shipment, they will charge you $10,000, $20,000 because you're messing up all their processes, right? They have to receive it and then distribute it in their distribution centers, and then get it to their stores, and then put it on the shelf with their end caps and their graphics and this and that. So if you are late, it might not be a big deal to you, but like you're crossing them in a ripple effect, right? And so it can be very expensive to do retail business, and then you be paid on 30, 60, 90-day terms. That means you may have a deal in July, ship the product in August, it gets on the shelf in September, and you don't get paid until November, right? Like how many of you can be out $200,000 for 7 months of your business? Like that's really tough. And so retail, I would recommend is not being your ultimate goal, because getting a deal with a retailer where it's really lucrative does not come from you first getting your product on the shelf and you're 1 or 2 in business. You may hear that, but that is just not the case for most people. You have the most leverage in your business when you've held out very long time, and then you can say, I have 200,000 customers. Which retailer do I want to be in? First. The truth of the matter is that we're in Ulta, but all the big boxes approached us. You know what I mean? Like they came to us, they would come every year to do a pitch to us. To say, please come in our stores. Because we are the brand, and the brands can know this, you are the customer acquisition cost for the retailers. What do I mean? If someone's going into a Target, right? Let's say the lip bar, I'll give you a real life example. The lip bar just launched in CVS. So go buy CurlMix in Ulta and buy the lip bar in CVS. But when you go to CVS, am I just going for lipstick? Or are you gonna pick up like, I'm gonna get these chips. I'm running out of lashes. Oh, I need some lash glue. I'm gonna get some. Oh, my cousin said she needs diapers. Honey, do you need anything else in the store? You're gonna spend another $50, but you came in for $5 lipstick, you know? And so, and every time they launch a new brand and they get us to bring our customers into their store, we're giving this retailer data. We're bringing this retailer customers. We are acquiring customers for them. Is that clear? And it's nothing wrong. They would give you a large purchase order, right? If they spend $500,000 with you, then yes, it is now your job to get customers into the store to service this account. And so, but if you are just starting your business, anybody raise your hand if it's your first year business. Raise your hand if it's your first or second year business. Then it's probably too soon to be thinking about retail. Because how do you have 50,000 customers to bring to a retailer, 20,000 customers, and then now you're splitting your attention. Because now you gotta figure out how I can get people into the store to buy this thing versus figuring out who is the best customer to serve for my product. And if you don't know that yet, and then you're going into mass retail, then you're like, well, maybe I should do Target, maybe I should do Walmart, maybe I should do CVS, I should do Mariano's, I should do Ulta because my customers everywhere. And the reality is, no, her customers are black women in her 40s. She's really just a Hyde Park in Bronzeville and Woodlawn. And any other store, you know, on the west side or out in Forestville or whatever, is just not going to be ideal for you. And you need to focus on these areas. But you only really get that after doing lots of research. And frankly, staying out of retail cost me money too, because I'm like cutting off opportunities in a way, or like business to business revenue. So I ended up raising $9 million for the manufacturing, but also to acquire my customers online through Facebook. Because I'm spending money on Facebook to acquire customers. And that's helping me grow online, which is giving me a data set to then bring into these stores and say, hey, here are my customers. We should be in this business also. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So retail should not necessarily be the initial goal. Building if you're not going to raise money, a profitable business. And if you're going to raise money, a high growth business should be your actual goal.
So let's go back down this path which you started. I appreciate it. About your marketing strategy, social media versus advertising. You're a big push for advertising probably for your product. And how did you kind of figure that all out?
In the beginning, customer service. So my customer service rep that I hired, she would tell me that people were having issues with the product. Like, and not in a bad way, just like they can't get the hairstyle they just got. Like I met some people here today who's like, I've done colors before, but like I couldn't figure out the wash and go curl. You know, I tried it. I love you, but it don't work for me. And I was like, and people would tell me their hair didn't curl. And like, I didn't get my hair curled either 10 years ago. Right? And now it sounds crazy looking at my curly hair. Like, girl, what? You didn't get your hair curled? I did not get it curled. I thought I only had an afro and it could not curl. And she was like, you gotta get on live and show them. You gotta show them how to do their hair. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. I'm like, but I took them to do their hair in the shower. And they were like, so record yourself in the shower. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, fine. So then we launched what we call Wash and Go Wednesdays, where I was literally in my house, fully clothed, in my CurlMix t-shirt, and I would be getting my hair drenched and doing my hair from start to finish in the shower. And we would do that every Wednesday for 2 years. 2 years. She's not doing her CurlMix investment. He said, I can see a t-shirt. Yes! And so I was doing it, and my husband would like be my hype man, and he would record me, and my mom would come over to watch the kids. And so doing that for 2 years really helped give us content for marketing, but also allowed to build trust. You build trust or brand equity through actions and not ads, right? So not Facebook ads. Facebook ads is not built for brand equity, but the founder showing up live every Wednesday for 2 years, where you can ask questions, you could be engaged, you can see that the product's actually working, and that if maybe it's not working for you, you might need more practice. And so after we did that for 2 years, but then as the business got to like $5 million plus in revenue, and we still had a small team, it became untenable because I needed to I needed to work in the business. And then people got tired of seeing my hair. They're like, you got good hair, girl. Like, and good in the sense of like it's thick and healthy, not good in the sense of like it's wavy and loose, okay? Because all hair is good hair. But they thought my hair was special, and I was just like, my hair is not special. They need to see their own hair. And so then we started doing what we call our masterclass. So we have a new Facebook group every month that we put thousands of customers in, and then one of our customers will coach them to help them get this hairstyle. So my customers will go live for 3 weeks in their bathroom on Sundays, and then we'll do like a kickoff Zoom call, have hundreds of women there, and then they'll do like testimonials, and then in 21 days they'll have mastered their girls.
That is brilliant. Very
Thank you.
All right, so you've been listed on Forbes 30 Under 30. That's impressive. Crane Chicago Business. Your products have been featured on at one time Chicago's very own Oprah's favorite things list.
Thank you.
All these amazing accomplishments happened in 2020. What does it mean to you to have your brand recognized by these popular and well-trusted publications, and how that helped you kind of moving forward? Maybe hire a few more people.
It was very exciting, and I remember finding out about Forbes, and my baby at the time, and my second baby was like under 1 year old, and he had like spit up on me when I had got the news. But it felt good. It was nice to be recognized. It also helped me realize the importance of people though, because I had been kind of on this straight and narrow path to like check off my goal list. I want to be on Shark Tank. I want to be on Forbes. I want to be open to everything. And then I realized like I didn't feel different after those things, and I really wish that I could give that knowledge and that information to other people so that they don't necessarily go down the path of serving their ego, I didn't feel different, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Right.
I realized they're nice to have, but
in researching, getting ready for today's interview, my team at BACP, an acronym for Business Affairs Consumer Protection.
It's long, it's different.
Said you got to watch the Shark Tank episode, which I did, and it's amazing. And you can follow it on, I think, probably YouTube's right around it. So you turned down $400,000, which was a little bit amazing, by the Sharks, which surprised many viewers. Can you tell this audience a little bit how you made a decision? Which now, in retrospect, I think it's actually good.
Thank you. Have you guys heard of BATNA? Have you guys heard of BATNA before? So BATNA is a term you learn typically when you get your MBA. So the better best alternative to negotiating an agreement. Or I think I'm messing up the beat, but you know what I mean. You know, did I say it wrong? What I say? What is it? It's right? Okay. So the best alternative to negotiating an agreement, which means that if I can't agree on something with the Sharks, what's my alternative? And Timothy and I had that discussion before going on the show. Because we had pitched the producers the day before, and they had they razzled us, we were ruffled. And now in hindsight, I learned that is actually just TV show.
Yeah.
You know, they do that to get you riled up, and then you go on the show. But I didn't know that back then. And so, I was almost gonna walk. I was like, we don't have to film. I was so angry, and then he was like, "Tim, relax. We're here in LA. We're going on a show, and let's just come up with whatever terms that we're our bottom. We're not gonna go above or below this." And we had decided that we would not give a Shark more than 15% of the business, regardless of what the number was, because we knew we'd have to raise money in the future. And if we had said yes to 20, 30, 40%, then we would go home and regret that. And so we did on the show, and Robert would not budge below 20%. Would not budge. And he was giving us a $400,000 offer. And I remember at the time, we were doing the same amount of money as Ring. You guys know Ring? Sold to Amazon? $4 billion. And the Sharks laughed him off the stage. Literally laughed him off the stage, made him look like a fool. And I remember thinking if we are like Ring, then we can say no to that.
Yeah.
And so when we went to the show the next day and he would budge below 20%, we were like, well, we didn't even have to discuss it. We're going home, And so that's how we said no.
And it got you a lot of publicity. It's probably long. Switching topics a little bit over to finance. Many of our attendees here today are seeking capital to start their business. How are you able to secure your capital to start your business? What are some of the financial obstacles? And what advice do you offer for someone who's having issues with getting a loan to open their business? And I love the fact you're so honest about that 7-month period, right? From the time you're actually making product to the time it gets onto the shelf and by the time you're actually getting a check that you can put in the bank.
Yes. I have probably gone to zero every year for the last 4 years in my bank account. I would go from I might have $2 million in the bank and I'll go down to 100,000. Then or sometimes zero. And then sometimes I'll go back up to 3 or 4 million because we've raised money. And so I have learned to not be moved by what's in my bank account. And growing up Black on the South Side and honestly poor, that is not an easy thing to overcome, right? Because you're constantly in survival mode. And you're always thinking about how am I going to make enough money? What's my next, thing? And I didn't come from money, right? When I say that, I really mean that. My mom was a single mom with 5 kids. We all had different dads. My grandparents helped raise us, and she was constantly working. And now she works at the state, but in the back of the day, she rode the bus. There were lots of different things. And my husband didn't come from money either, even though we had 2 parents at home. They didn't have much money. And so having to navigate entrepreneurship, which is constant survival mode, for a while until you get to a profitable, stable business, was very, very hard. And so funding the business initially, we did with our own credit card debt, which is dangerous. I don't actually recommend that. But we maybe get $100,000. When we made $1 million in the business, we had spent $100,000 on credit card debt. And everybody was a contractor. So no one was a full-time employee. We did not afford benefits, taxes, anything. And then once we got to we went on Shark Tank, and then I raised our first $1 million after Shark Tank. Now, by the time we were appeared on Shark Tank, we were on our way to making $5 million that year. I got $1 million investment from the former CEO of LinkedIn, Jeff Weiner, and his partner. And they invested $1 million, and they had some smaller checks come in with them as well. And then I raised $1.2 million. And then after that, I went out to fundraising next year. We did the $5 million. And typically if you grow like that, you go from 1 to 5 million, it should be pretty easy to raise your next round. It was not. This was before George Floyd. This was before there were a lot of funds for Black and brown founders. And it was really difficult to raise. Oh, and I cannot forget Arlen from Backstage Capital. She wrote us our first check for $25K to get to that $1 million. So that was like $1 million. Anyway, so where did the rest of the like 7-ish million come from if you got the 1.2 from Jeff? Well, I couldn't raise from VCs, and so I was like, you know what? I have 100,000 customers. I can raise my own investment. And that is when I looked to the crowd. The Obama administration implemented the Jobs Act, which basically allows everyday investors or everyday unaccredited investors to become investors in startups. Because before then, you could not invest in startups. Which is crazy because you can go to the casino and blow your whole check, you know what I mean? But like, you know, for whatever reason, the SEC wants, you know, you can only be an accredited investor, which means you have to have, I think, over $250,000 in like cash, something like that, or over like like maybe $1 million net worth. I can't remember, but it's like some crazy number of like, so you would never be able to invest in an Uber or Google or an Apple because you're not wealthy. And so the Jobs Act changed that in 2012. Well, the amount you can only raise is only $1 million because they also don't want us to be able to mislead everyone in the audience, right? Like if you're not an accredited investor, you may not know how to invest, so you can also be taken advantage of. But they upped it to $5 million in 2020, and so this made it interesting to me because now when I crowdfund, I have to show you my financials, I have to go through an audit, I have to reveal all my data as a business, which is fine. Like if it's a public company in the stock market, you have to do the same thing. But it's a lot of work to get ready for something like that for just $1 million. And they all hear me in the audience like, just $1 million. But I have to pay an auditor $20,000 to $40,000 to audit my books. You know what I mean? And it's no guarantee that I'll be able to raise the money. So it's a lot of work to actually crowdfund. But when they raised the amount of $5 million, I was like, oh, I'll do this. And so then we ended up raising 4.5 from 7,000 investors. And most of them were our customers. And so at this point, I've raised, you know, a little over almost $6 million. And then this year I raised my first institutional money from Cleveland Avenue. You guys know Don Thompson, first Black CEO of McDonald's, he has a fund. And they invested $2 million out of $3.5 million in my round this year. And so, thank you. And that is how we raised a little over $9 million so far.
That's amazing. And for our audience, just so you know, today we're going to have a workshop on how much debt should I carry as a small business owner. So please encourage you to, when the workshop starts, a little bit. And also in our exhibit hall, we have allies for community business, Wintrust Bank, representatives from Chase for Business, and then CIBC Bank and more. And they're all out there for free to chat with you and give you additional financial guidance from some of these experts. It's always the number one thing.
And debt is preferred to selling equity in your business, right? Like equity in your business is the most expensive because that person never goes away until you buy them out. And you gotta have enough money to buy them out. And so if you can get debt for your business, that's a good thing. Depending on what the terms are, I would say definitely use it as your first option.
Kim, I just want to thank you for sharing your insights and your business journey. You are really an inspiration for all, even for someone that may not be able to use the product. I love the story. It's a beautiful story.